ثم أما بعد. One of the most beloved sounds to the ears of an individual, the most beloved sounds of cry to the ears of an individual is when the child comes out of the womb of the mother and he cries the first cry. The cry that signifies life. The cry that tells the parents that your child is alive and healthy. And from that point begins a very, very important journey for the parents to take care and look after this little child. So the father and mother, they get busy taking care of this child. As he's nourished, he grows. The mother takes care of the character, the akhlaq, the tarbiyah, how to use the bathroom, how do you eat. The father is busy with bringing the bread to the table, or sometimes nowadays today the mother and the father is offering the other role as a stay-home father. But irrespective, both of them combined, they are busy in this struggle, this journey to make sure that this child does not get hurt, or this child does not feel any threat or any fear or any harm comes its way. Now, many of times when the child becomes 7 or 8 years of age, 9 years of age, 7, 8, 9, at that point the child, he starts showing some symptoms. He wants freedom. He wants to do things his way. He's no longer interested in your narrative. But then, you know, when the child goes out, and almost no parent, irrespective of their religiosity barometer of where they fall in adherence to Islam, almost no parents, and sometimes even non-Muslims, would never ever find this appropriate that their child hangs out at the age of 7, 8 or 9 on the streets and comes home at 2 a.m. at night. Neither it is going to be acceptable if your child, a teenager, 14, 15, hangs out with people that you fundamentally disagree with their character or their behavior or their habits or the things that these young kids do. So you would warn your child and you would tell him, that's not good for you, I don't approve of that. And this is a very normative scene that we see amongst the communities today. Now, I was sitting at one of the Tim Hortons, and a similar scenario played out in front of me. And the scenario was that there was a child, mother, and her friend. The mother and her friend, they were busy talking the whole time, while the child was busy with an iPad or some sort of a tablet. Now, the minute the mother decided that they're going to go get something from the counter, at that point, the mother turns to the child and tells him, listen, remember what I told you, there's stranger danger. Do not talk to strangers. Strangers can harm you. They can take you away from mama. So you make sure that you don't speak to, I'm just around the corner. Literally the distance between where he sat, the child was sitting, and the mother, it was like literally from this member all the way to that door. But even that amount of distance, the mother informed the child out of her love and care and said, make sure you don't speak to anybody, just focus on your tablet, don't do anything, don't talk to anyone, don't respond to anyone, because there is stranger danger. Or strangers are dangerous. But what she failed to realize in that whole process is that 7 or 8-year-old child was communicating with strangers all along as he played video games online. Strangers that you as a parent are not even aware of. People that you don't even know. They could assume any identities and present themselves as a 7, 8, 9 years old because there's no there's no verification process. Now this online gaming is almost like an 8th continent. Your child, we are so worried about our child and protecting our child from the elements of these 7 continents, but we always forget and neglect that there's an 8th continent, which is the internet. There's an 8th continent where your child is living on a constant, interacting with people. He has points, he has status. It's a society that he's living, and many of the parents are completely unaware of that. Or even if they are aware of it, it's not worth the trouble for them to understand this. It's not worth the trouble for me to figure out what Fortnite is. It's not worth the trouble for a parent to figure out what Twitch is and all these other platforms that this gaming is taking place. It's not. Because, come on, as long as he's not watching anything profane on television, or as long as he's not doing anything, that is outwardly acceptable, outwardly unacceptable, alhamdulillah, my child is doing great. So we want to talk about this today a little bit because I think this is a real issue and an epidemic that is, prevalent amongst the society. I recently came across a platform that allows parents to actually educate themselves so that they can actually understand what this whole gaming world is all about. And many of the times the children that go to these platforms, I'm not really sure if it's available. Like what they usually do is they hold sessions at different libraries or different malls and stuff like that, and you can bring your child over there. It's called Game Aware. Right? And it started out of Australia, but it's something really amazing because what they do is they ensure that you as a parent and a child come to an agreement or a contract between how gaming is going to be introduced in this child's life. See, we cannot at any incident think about this fact that, abstinence or staying away or keeping these children away from all of this technology is the solution. Maybe until they're 5, 6, 7, 8, but you have to expose them to this technology. What is missing in this whole piece is, as parents, how do we have some sort of control and we give them a controlled environment and a limited exposure. I gave a similar khutbah last week in Brampton, and one of the professors at a university or at a college, I don't remember exactly, but he was a professor, and he said that his daughter is sitting in Switzerland and he can monitor exactly which websites she went to, how much time she spent on the phone, what was the primary, main areas, was she watching videos and all of that, and he gets a report of that. So I'm in talks with him right now to see that if he can provide that sort of education to the parents. But in any case, all of that information exists. The parents over here internally, we need to take out that time and say that, okay, this technology, this lifestyle, imagine it has changed so much that the recent government changes in the school boards, they have removed like 2 courses are going to be done online. Right? The courses that were costing the government a lot, they've cut those courses, and now they're offering this as an online course for your child to get the high school diploma. For him to get that diploma, they will do this course online. By the time many of your children that are 7, 8, or your grandchildren that are 7, 8, they will become teenagers, the whole thing is going to flip around. So we need, as parents, to trust our children, allow them that limited exposure. The game should not be the cake. It should be the icing on that cake. So gaming, television, gaming, internet, cell phone, all of this, it cannot be the essence of their life. And the reason I bring this up today is because just on June 27th, 2019, the World Health Organization, they classified internet gaming as a mental disorder, i.e. addiction. And now they're going to start doing research, and I think by year 2020, they will start prescribing medications for that. And I bring this up today because I will probably bring out 2 examples of people that I met in the last 6 months that I've been here, cases that were brought up to me that were like many of times we might think, oh no, it's just not very big deal, it's just a small thing, not a big problem. But it is a big problem. One of the cases that was brought to me was a child who would play internet games 12 hours continuously every day. He was a 15-year-old child who would play 12 hours continuously. Many times he would not even go to the bathroom during those 12 hours because he was addicted to that. And obviously because to a parent, he's an addict. But for him, he is living a virtual life where he has status. He gets points. He gets recommendations. He gets, flattery. People making comments about how amazing he played. And that is feeding his emotions. And this particular child, it took him almost 6 months of therapy. And just recently, he was allowed and introduced back video games and all of that so that, in a very controlled environment, and there's an agreement between him and the parent and the counselor. And this is a real scenario. But the danger is much higher than that. And the second case that came to me, which was a case of a younger girl, 14 years of age, she started doing all of these online gamings. The interesting part was that in her house, her father, her elder brother, the male relatives would never flatter her with good comments. MashaAllah, you look very beautiful. MashaAllah, what a nice dress. And a child, a female child, or a young girl, she is desperate to hear that. And when she does not hear it from the male relatives, then she seeks that from other ways. And this particular girl, she started playing a particular online game, and one thing led to another thing, led to another thing, until she was convinced by the group of people that she was involved in that particular online group, that they started sharing pictures of themselves without clothes. And they said, look, we have all become vulnerable in front of you, and we all love you, we all really care about you. How about you take some pictures of yours and share it with us? Trust me, it's just going to remain in this group of an online group gamers that she was involved in. And after that, when she did that, they started blackmailing her. And alhamdulillah, those two guys, they were arrested. But other than that, they started blackmailing her, and the extent it went to was they even had figured out the school that she went to in Meadowville. And what was the path that she would take every day walking from the school back to home. And then they would use her as a transport means of drugs. So they would, somebody that would meet him in the parking lot, meet her at the parking lot of the school, they would give her a small drug pouch or something and say, as you are going and walking, you will see a car with this number plate, just throw this pouch in the window of that car. And she did that for the last 6 months, until finally they were able to catch that person, the two people, and they arrest them. But the case is that this is extremely dangerous, that you have children that are sitting there in your houses, in your home, and you're so concerned about them meeting strangers, but they are sitting in your house, in the room, and interacting with strangers that you have no idea doing things. So now, some of the tips and things that I would want to convey so you recognize that your child has this addiction. Number one, there are 3 things that they have mentioned. I hope I remember that from the article, but there are 3 things. Number one, they said that if the child gives precedence to human needs, i.e. going to the bathroom, drinking, socialization, all of this, if he gives precedence to gaming over than human needs, then that is the first sign that there's an addiction problem. There's it may not be a severe problem, but there's an addiction problem. Number 2, when they cannot differentiate between virtuality and reality. So many times these people, they will start like, when you would speak to them, and if they're addicted to gaming, when you speak to them, they will speak in terminology, like they will be living in that virtual world in their brain, and it's very hard for them to disconnect, and they'll come back to this like, oh, sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear that. And the child is in that virtual world. And this is very hard to figure it out. The third one is when you take away the video game from the child, when you take away online gaming specifically, when you take that away from the child, how does the child react? The severer the reaction, the bigger the problem the parent has at his hand. Now, some solutions that we can put forth. During this beautiful summer months, there's no reason that your child should be playing video games for more than an hour. At all. Like if you are going to expose your child to an online gaming, which you should, because in a controlled environment, it should never be above an hour, ever. Because there's so many things you can do outdoors, specifically in summers. The city has planned so many things, workshops. Take your child to, for example, Home Depot. They have workshops on how to do gardening. Those workshops sometimes cost very nominal, $10, $15, $20. Every week there's a workshop happening on how to take care of the lawn. Connect your children back to the nature. One of the other things you can do is you can buy park passes and schedule times where you would go out as a parent with your child on hikes. Now, sometimes, the sun sets at 9 o'clock. Many parents, they come back from work, 6:30, 7. You still have 2 hours of daylight where you can take out your child or a grandson, go out on a hike, go out on a bike. The more they connect with the nature, the less craving they're going to have to play video games. And the less craving they're going to have on this online addiction. Number 3, and this one is sometimes, it stings a bit. And again, it's for all of us. Do you, as a parent, have an addiction with your cell phone? Because many times, you would find that, if you download certain apps that tells you your usage of cell phones, that tells you the usage of how long have you used the phone, you'll actually realize, subhanAllah, that many of us as parents, many of us as grandparents, we are also addicted to our phones. Maybe not to online gaming, but definitely to WhatsApp and all the amazing groups that have, and talking about politics of back home, all of that. That is a form of addiction. It is giving us some satisfaction, and that is something very, very important. One of the prominent speakers in US, I was with him in UK, and he told me that he has a policy that on his second level of the house, when you go up on bedroom, like the minute you go up the stairs, nobody's allowed to bring any cell phones, any devices, nothing. All the devices, they remain on the main floor. Now, this brings me to the 4th point, that if you have given your child a laptop or an iPad or a tablet, just make sure that you confine the space in which he's allowed to use them. Right? You give him the freedom to use the tablet, but say you're not allowed to take that tablet, lock the door, and go in your room. There's no need for that. You can play all the games, you can use your headphones if you don't want me to, but that child should be in an open space environment where he knows that other people are watching him. And again, it's a family, so you should not have any such secrets that your child can't play video games in. And if he resists, then there's more reasons for you to actually figure out that how you can do that. Same thing with laptops. No laptops should be allowed in the rooms of children because it's a device that is calling disaster. Right? Unless your children are trained. Again, I'm very balanced here that you cannot tell the child no laptop, no Instagram, no Facebook, no Snapchat for you, haram. That's not going to work. Right? I had to, after a long discussion, expose my own daughter to Instagram. And honestly, it was a very daunting task for me. I was like, I don't want her to get exposed. But there's a chance. Like, if I don't expose her to that in a controlled environment, 1 hour a day or 45 minutes a day, and that is also as a reward. It is not a given that you will get that 45 minutes a day. Then at least you have some surety that you're also not depriving them of the lifestyle they will be living. And number 2, that you're giving them that comfort that, I trust you enough for you to have your own account. But it is going to be controlled environment, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, He grants us the tawfiq in this, specifically this summertime, to be able to do things that helps our children. I think at Huda they have a very beautiful program that they have launched, which is Deen for Teens. If you have time, Mondays to Thursdays it's going to be running. You can allow your children to register in that. If you're just available on the weekends, they have another program called High Alert. That is a program, again, primarily focusing on children and the contemporary issues that they're facing, inshaAllah ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه فإنه الغفور. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da. This whole khutbah, the essence or the root of why we need to be worried about this is this one verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nar." That protect yourselves and your families from hellfire. And another, "Alayha malaikatun ghilab." That in this hellfire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed staunch angels, i.e. they're really, really ruthless. لا يعصون الله ما أمرهم. They do not ever disobey the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Take this opportunity. Summer is a time to connect with the children. We ask Allah that He opens our hearts and grants us tawfiq of how to connect with our children. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants the tawfiq to the children that are here to respect their parents and to be able to connect with the parents in a proper way. We ask Allah that the channels between the two and the generations that are here and the generations that are coming, the channels or the communication channels between those generations opens up so that we're able to understand one another and build successful families. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم وأقم الصلاة.